go for the markets, but we have to talk about market fundamentals. Joining us now is Prashant, Paroda, Portfolio Manager of Allspring Global Investments. We're going to talk about global markets, Indian markets, and a lot more. Prashant, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You know, there's so much happening in the markets. If we talk about the global front, we do have the Fed rate cut that just happened. We do have the US elections coming by as well, and markets at new record highs when it comes to India as well. Just speaking about India, you tend to be bullish on India on the longer term. But for now, do you think valuations are stretched? And in the EM basket, where does India stand for you?
So, we have several products. We kind of market neutral in the all cap product, but in the small mid cap, we are overweight India, and we think the rally still has a lot more legs. I think a lot of people have missed the rally from a global perspective is because they look at hindsight valuations. But if you look at the earnings growth trajectory of a lot of these companies, you don't find that everywhere across the globe. And the beauty of the Indian market is, they're defensive plays too. So even if the market corrects, if you pivot to the defensive plays, you can still generate alpha. So it's not just you're just buying banks, infrastructure plays. You have IT companies, you have pharma, you have healthcare. So the diversity and the breadth of the market, I think there's no market like this in emerging market space. And that's why we think, alpha generation, India is the place to be from near-term and a long-term basis as well.
Prashant, good morning. Thank you for joining in. We're going to talk about flows now, the foreign investors. There's been some bit of inflow that has come in after the Fed cut its rates. But when you talk to a lot of global analysts, they mention that valuations remain a concern for a lot of these FPIs who are sitting on the sidelines with cash. They want to wait for a 5-10% correction before they deploy their cash in. What is the conversation that you are having with your clients? Is valuation a deterrent for FIIs to pour in more money? And if the Fed continues to cut rates, will that lead to more inflows as well?
Yeah, I think the Fed cutting rates is just going to be the booster shot for emerging markets. And, yesterday we saw China rally as well. So a lot of people think it's an either or, but I think China rallying is great for the asset class as well because, India is put in a bucket. So if India is doing well, China is not doing well, overall returns aren't that great. And then people don't notice that bucket. But when every other country also starts performing and India has done the heavy lifting this year, I think everybody notices the asset class. So from an allocator's perspective, this is great. The caveat just is, US elections coming through and what it will do to trade. So if, there are two compelling thoughts. There are two candidates. One candidate, Trump, is hell-bent on opening the trade issues again. The other candidate, she's going to be more strategic, at least for now, on trade issues. So I think a lot boils down to what the geopolitics looks like on November 5th. And that is probably going to be a key concern for allocators to see how it will play out from that perspective.
So, of course, the tariff hike that could come by, and of course, China has been playing a very important role when it comes to no demand in their own country, so dumping goods outside their country. Prashant, in that case, you said there's still some legs to this rally that we'll see in select pockets. Where are you putting in your money in India? Is there something where you still see valuations are reasonable? Because you have to say valuations are stretched in the country right now.
Yes, from a historic perspective, they are stretched. But, there are still pockets, we think, whether healthcare or pharma, more defensive play, you can still, see earnings growth and you can project that, 2 or 3 years out. So you're paying a higher multiple than before, but as long as there's earnings growth, I think the stocks will still perform. So I think from our perspective, we just look from a bottoms up where the earnings growth will be. And, sometimes markets gives you opportunities where they think something is cyclical and market thinks it's structural. So we take that opportunity to get liquidity on those names. And the idea is to just reposition the portfolio where the earnings growth will be from our perspective.
Is there a pocket like that which the street currently believes is structural but you think is cyclical?
No, I think, I mean, my sense is at least a lot of the infra names have run up, but one thing you have to understand is that post the elections, there is more of a pivot to the social side of things, right? And, you know, there was a scheme in Madhya Pradesh that got a lot of seats for the ruling party. That scheme is going to be deployed in Maharashtra. And my sense is if that's a successful scheme, it could be deployed throughout India. So you have to think about what it will do to government budgets and how it will constrain on the, you know, the investment side. Because so far the government has done all the heavy lifting. Like, you can't blame the government for anything. They've done their job. It's for the private sector capex to sort of pick up for real estate. And a lot of that is moving in the right direction as well. But if for some reason the government year-on-year growth slows in a certain bucket and grows in the other bucket, then you have to kind of reposition your portfolio for that.
Okay. You know, the other thing that's happening now is that big IPO rush that the markets are seeing. It's incessant. We do have approvals coming for 2 big IPOs again, Hyundai and Swiggy as well. What are you making of this rush in the markets? Anything that you've liked from the recent listings, any space? Yeah. And the 2 that are coming now, do you think those are exciting as well?
Yeah, I think, you know, people always tell me, oh, there's all this liquidity rush, but, you know, they're sellers too, right? So the market will work. Like, you'll find sellers, you know, people will sell, promoters will sell, and you'll find, and I think it's very good. Like, if you look at Hyundai, the IPO that's happening, you know, where their shares trade in Korea versus what they'll trade here will be a marked difference, because they'll be comped to whatever Maruti is, you know, at some valuation around that. But I think it's good for India, because India gets to see the growth in Hyundai India, right? So, and, you know, they've been a dominant, I mean, second player in the market for so long. I mean, so I think it's great that all these new companies are coming into India, and investors will get opportunity to take advantage of that growth. You know, someone might not like the global play, might like just the India play. So the India play would trade much higher than, you know, the global plays.
The IPO rush is all set to continue, I guess. But Prashant, thanks a lot for sparing time and joining us today to share your views on the markets and on the sectors that you prefer as well. Thank you so much for sparing time.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Prashant Paroda there of Allspring's Global Investments. Time for a short break. Up